Regular Show was an American animated sitcom that aired on Cartoon Network from 2010 to 2017 and ran for 8 good seasons. It featured different types of species like human beings to raccoons, to a yeti and even ghosts. Today, I want us to remember all the characters from Season 1 to Season 8, and then see the people who voiced them and how old they've gotten today in 2025. Let us start with one of the main characters of the show called Mordecai, who was always with his best friend called Rigby. He was the more sensible of the two, and was a guy with a clear ambition to be seen as responsible and also to further his chances of having a good career either as an artist or as a pilot. We can describe Mordecai as a mild-mannered and a big-hearted dude who loved playing video games and drinking large amounts of coffee and soda. He had a few talents like being an artist, he could play the guitar, and was also a good gamer in video games. This bird was voiced by James Garland Quintal, who is an animator and a storyboard artist that can also do voice acting and produce movies as well. He is actually the creator of the show, and also helped in creating the animation series called Flapjack. Muscleman, on the other hand, was a guy that worked at the park alongside his friends. He loved pranking his buddies, especially his best friend, known as the High Five Ghost, and was known to be a pain in the neck by others. He was kind of obese, but was also very strong and was known to lift cars and trees with his bare hands. He also loved eating lots of food at a go, and was again known to withstand any form of beating by anybody. This guy was also very unhygienic, and was recognized by his body odor from a mile away. Voiced by Sam Marin, who was also the voice of Benson and Pops in this same show. He is also an animator and a storyboard artist, and has worked with Quintal since the show began. Rigby was the best friend of Mordecai, and was the complete opposite of his friend. He was more lazy and immature of the two, but he became more serious and responsible as the show went on. He was known to be a disrespectful and immature raccoon who could be very impulsive and impatient at times. And even with all these negative comments, Rigby really cared for his friends and would not do anything to offend them on purpose. He was afraid of horror movies and was also one of the most dramatic people in the show. He was voiced by William Salyers, who is an American actor. If you played the Spider-Man video game of 2018, he was the voice of Dr. Octopus. And now to Skips, who was an immortal yeti that worked at the park as a groundskeeper. He was a very wise yeti who had a vast knowledge to many things due to his past years as an immortal being. Everyone relied on him to solve supernatural problems, and was known to always have every answer to even the most difficult question. And even with all his knowledge, he was often quiet and was one of the least vocal characters in the show. The iconic Mark Hamill was responsible for his voice. We discussed him in the previous episode where he played the role of Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back of 1980. Eileen Roberts started as a waitress at the coffee shop and was also a student at City College. She had a huge crush on Rigby, and both were good friends in most of the series. She was a shy and intelligent girl who was mostly seen as a nerd and a weirdo by others. She was a mole from the species of rats, and it was Minty Lewis who voiced her. She is an actress from Virginia, and is nowadays a writer and producer in most films. Thomas was a recurring character in the show since the 4th season, and was a Russian spy who grew close to the other characters, and thus decided to double-cross the Russian government to save his friends. He was usually seen tagging along with the others on their outings and adventures, and was among the most laid-back characters in the series. He was voiced by Roger Craig Smith, who is both a voice actor in animation shows and video games. His iconic role was in Resident Evil of 2009, where he voiced Chris Redfield. Margaret worked as a waitress at the coffee shop alongside Eileen, and was also a student at the local community college. She was mostly the girlfriend of Mordecai, but they broke up when it was time for her to move elsewhere after she joined another college. She was a kind and caring lady who was always down to earth towards her friends and family. She also valued her career and studies, and that was why she even broke up with Mordecai after seeking higher knowledge. A beautiful soul voiced by Janie Haddad Tompkins, an actor and comedian who also made a cameo on American Dad. There was this ghost known as High Five. He worked in the park alongside Muscleman, who was his best friend, and was known for his quiet and gentle personality. He was also the most logical member in the park and would help the others when their brain cells stopped working. He was very loyal to his best friend and always supportive with everything he did. He was a Pac-Man-esque type of ghost and was voiced by Jeff Bennett, who is the famous voice of Johnny Bravo. CJ was the second girlfriend of Mordecai after Margaret went to college. She was a cloud humanoid who was kind with a laid-back and cool personality, and the reason she became Mordecai's girlfriend was because they both shared the same interests in lots of things and ideas. Sometimes she would get angry and become clouds of angry rainstorms and lightning, and an example was where Margaret returned to the park from college, and she started getting jealous of her and Mordecai, which made her turn into a furious cloud of nimbus. She was voiced by the beautiful Linda Cardellini. Starla rolled as the main antagonist in most of the show. She worked at icy and hot jewelry apparel and was married to Muscleman, who we discussed earlier. The only way to describe her is the toughest character in the show. Roxy only appeared in season 8 and was an alien rock that ran a food truck. She was so passionate and hardworking in all of her appearances. Mr. Maillard was the owner of the park and was known to be tough and strict to his employees. He was a very greedy businessman who cared about nothing and no one but himself. Gary was the messenger for the Guardians of Eternal Youth and the king of Planet Synthos. A woman named Susan was the one who took over as the owner of the park after Mr. Maillard's passing. She always took her job seriously due to the fact that she always forced everyone to work harder and faster all day long. Officer Glenn appeared with his fellow officer Hank in the 6th season. They were a pair of corrupt police officers in the show. There was this alien called Carl who appeared in only one episode of season 8. He was a nightmare alien with super strength and courage. And finally, the Low Five Ghost, who was the brother to High Five Ghost. He spent most of his time behind bars, but would later join the police academy and become an officer afterwards.